Mr. Speaker, on the issue of fairness and access to justice is importance to my people in Isiolo North. The intentions to increase the funding to the judiciary means more courts will be established in the far-flung areas of Isiolo North. And thereafter, my people will easily access the service, the justice. The unavailability of courts in the far-flung areas of this country has delayed and denied millions of Kenyans the justice and they so much require and deserve. The desire to have fairness in the governance is most welcome for the marginalized communities. It rekindles hope for the ones they will be represented in the government and enjoy development and basic government services like many other Kenyans. Mr. Speaker, His Excellency the President, to issue raising access to water from 60% to 80%, the arid and including the constituency that I represent, the water scarcity and accessibility is very low, at less than 20%. The promise to increase the accessibility is most welcome and most. So if this will be focused on the arid and semi-arid areas and not just major urban areas, as the case in the past 59 years of independence, where major investment in the water sector targeted urban and most populous areas. Public-private partnership in the water sector with no doubt greatly accelerate water access in the rural areas. However, there is need to regulate. There is need to regulate the investment lest further exacerbate water scarcity through pursuit of profits. The county government should be involved in the process, and the government stake should protect the users from the product.
Is his time up? The Honorable Rindigiri Mugambi.
I want to thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to the speech by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto. But before I do comment on his speech, I want to congratulate you and your deputy for election to the position of the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker respectively. I would also like to take this opportunity to congratulate my President and a mentor, together with his Deputy President, a friend and a mentor also, for election as the President and the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. I also take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to express my gratitude to the great people of Bori, the constituency that has brought me back for the second time. I want to tell the people of Bori, I joined His Excellency the President in the national building, and I shall ensure that I serve you with dedication like I did for the first 5 years to ensure that my people you people of Bori benefit from the government that you elected. Mr. Speaker, when I heard the speech from our president, it gave me an impression and a stamp of confirmation of a man who understands where Kenya has been, where Kenya is, and where Kenya is going. Mr. Speaker, the President spoke with confidence because he moved around this country during the electioneering period. He sat with so many professionals in every county to understand their economic, political, and social requirements as we move forward. And I'm sure through that interaction, His Excellency the President created or gave us an impression he is the best choice to lead this country. And he did. On 9th of August, it was confirmed by the citizens of this country he is the best man to lead this country. I therefore congratulate him, and I have no doubt in my mind that His Excellency the President will steer this country to greater heights. Mr. Speaker, this speech, I'm sure, was written with commitments. Mr. Speaker, the His Excellency the President started by talking about governance. And I want to thank him because he is one person who has suffered because of a regime that did not honor the governance in this country. Mr. Speaker, His Excellency the President has committed himself to the rule of law. He has committed himself to respect the independence of judiciary and the independence of this parliament. And I thank him for that. Because what we saw in the toilet of the parliament, Mr. Speaker, is the executive putting a string around the legislature. I am saying this, that has come to an end because His Excellency has said he will respect the autonomy of this House, he will respect the authority of this House together with the Senate. And that's very important as we advance governance and democracy in our country. Mr. Speaker, someone has said that the President did not speak about corruption. He captured the element of corruption in his speech. And that's why he argued that we need to support judicially so that they can help fight corruption. We cannot spend the whole day talking about corruption in a speech like this. But he took time to give us summary that if we offer support to the judiciary, then we are very confident that the fight against corruption will be successful. Mr. Speaker, I come from...
What's the point of order? What's the point of order, Honorable Koich?
Honorable Speaker, is it in order for Honorable Didimas Barasa to walk with the naked head, Mr. Speaker? In the last parliament, it had been ruled that he should wear his official hat, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think his hat was stolen by Junaid Mohammed. We have to have a fundraising for him to buy a new one. Mr. Speaker, before that interruption, I was alluding to the fact that the President has given us guarantee to the rule of law. And I'm sure the element of corruption has also been captured in his speech. I come from a very agricultural constituency. And Mr. Speaker, I congratulate you for coming to my constituency during the campaign times. You are the second speaker to come to my constituency. Mr. Speaker, food security is a key aspect in our community. Today, Mr. Speaker, I want to bring to the attention of this House that it has never rained for the last 4 years when the handshake was held between the two brothers. It's like they brought the curse of rain. Mr. Speaker, when the president was giving a speech, that the day it started raining in my constituency. So you can imagine 4 years without rain, and now we have no food. I want to thank the president for ensuring that the theme of his Asila movement, agricultural factor, is to increase productivity. And that's why I'm so happy to see the prices of fertilizer being reduced to an affordable rate. However, the fertilizer amount is not enough. And I would like to ask the president to ensure that we increase the volumes, because my constituency alone requires 100,000 metric tons of fertilizer. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the president because he has also committed himself to ensuring that the farming advisory services are extended to our farmers. Mr. Speaker, agriculture cannot be what it is and to reach the level that the president wants to be unless we have water. I want to thank the president because of his effort to bring in and encourage public-private partnership in mobilization of resources for water, because we all need water. This country needs water. And therefore, I thank the president for thinking that direction, because we, as private investors, if we encourage and join the government, we will have companies coming up to dig dams, to dig boreholes, and that will help in supplementing the input for water in agriculture. Mr. Speaker, I grew up in the insurance sector. That's my business. I kept on saying NHF need to be restructured. And I'm so happy because the president said, yes, it needs to be restructured to the effect that it become an universal health care. Mr. Speaker, I would not like to continue from there, but let me say, the president said this. The tax regime is very discriminative. Indeed it is. And through his administration, I am sure the tax regime will be brought back to where Kenyans can afford, and it should not be discriminative. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, people of Bori. We will continue working together. We will continue enjoying the freedom that has come after the Asila nation has become a reality. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mbunge wa Jomvu.
After stopping Lege.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi pia nachukua fursa hii kukupongeza kwa kuchaguliwa kama spika, na vile vile Mheshimiwa Boss Sholei kama naibu wako. Mheshimiwa Spika, vile vile nachukua fursa hii kuwashukuru sana watu wangu wa Jomvu kwa kunichagua katika bunge hili kwa muhula wa 3. Hii haikuwa kazi rahisi, na kama Mheshimiwa Spika wanavoniita kule mtaani, kijana mwepesi, garang di mabiori, mzee fula ngenge, nataka kuambia kuwa niko hapa kwa nguvu ya Mungu. Nitawahudumikia kama vile nilivyohudumikia vipindi viwili. Vile vile Mheshimiwa Spika, natoa pongezi kubwa sana kwa watu wa Mombasa kwa kumchagua mwenzetu ambaye tulikuwa naye hapa, Mheshimiwa Abdulswamad Sharif Nasir, kwa gavana wa mji wa Mombasa. Mheshimiwa Spika, wakati wa bunge 12 nilimweleza Mheshimiwa Mturi ambaye alikuwa spika wetu, nikasema mimi mjumbe wa Jomvu sikuwa na wazimu kusema Abdulswamad atakuwa governor. Kwa hivyo na leo juu ya uongozi wako tuwashukuru governor wa Mombasa ni Mheshimiwa Abdulswamad Sharif Nassir. Vile vile nikija kwa hotuba ya rais, Mheshimiwa Spika, hotuba ya rais ilikuwa mzuri, ilikuwa fupi na haikuwa kuchokesha, na alisema mambo mengi, moja likiwa ni jambo la CDF. Katika hotuba yake kipengee cha 49 alizungumzia maneno ya CDF, akasema CDF imeweza kuleta mabadiliko makubwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, ninavyofahamu mimi, CDF ina kitengo cha mazingira, kuna kitengo cha basari, kuna kitengo cha michezo, na vile vile tuko na miradi. Lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, hivi sasa wazazi wetu wote katika constituencies zetu zote, wajumbe sote tusumbuliwa kwa shauri ya watoto karo za shule. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni muhimu sana kwenye hili jambo la CDF kuona hata kama tusubiri kulipitisha kikatiba, ni muhimu kama serikali tuangalie kitengo hiki cha cha constituency tuweze kuwapatia watu wetu. La si hivyo, tumeona rais ameondoa maneno ya fuliza kwa Safaricom, lakini tusipochunga tutakuwa na fuliza ya elimu ikiwa hatutaweza kupata hizi pesa kwa haraka. Mheshimiwa Spika, nimeona Mheshimiwa Rais katika kipengee cha 29 ya hotuba yake amezungumzia juu ya mambo ya makaazi ama affordable housing, na vile vile watu kupata haki ya kuona namna gani wataweza kupata makao. Mheshimiwa Spika, hili ni jambo muhimu kwa sababu tukiangalia jambo la hatimiliki ni muhimu kuliangazia, na tumshukuru rais ameweza kuliangalia. Kwa maana hiyo, watu wangu walioko Alidina, Bangladesh, Owino Uhuru, Vikobani na sehemu mbalimbali wataweza, ikiwa serikali itatia maanani mambo haya waliosema, kuona kuwa wameweza kupata hatimiliki za ardhi na hali waweze kujiendeleza na maisha yao. Mheshimiwa Spika, katika kipengee cha 48 cha hotuba ya Mheshimiwa Rais amezungumzia juu ya mambo ya janga ama janga la drought ama ukame. Hili ni jambo muhimu, lakini Mheshimiwa Spika, pia tusema mara nyingi serikali ikiangalia jambo hili la ukame katika kuwapatia watu vyakula na usaidizi mwingine huangalia maeneo kadhaa, na wakatuacha sisi watu wa Mombasa kuonekana kuwatoweza. Lakini yafaa ieleweke pia, ndani ya mji wa Mombasa kuna watu katika vitongoji ambao hawajaweza kujiweza katika hali nzuri, na ni muhimu serikali ikitangaza majanga kama haya kutaka kuyasaidia pia waangazie katika sehemu hizo. Mheshimiwa Spika, katika kipengee cha 33 Mheshimiwa Rais amezungumzia juu ya mambo ya huduma ya afya. Leo Mheshimiwa Rais Mheshimiwa Spika anasema jambo hili ni muhimu liangaliwe, serikali itoe huduma ya afya kwa wote, kwa sababu saizi tukiangalia sisi tuna karibu takribani milioni 9 ya CDF ambao tunapeleka kwa NHIF. Alafu vile vile tunaangalia pesa hizi zatumika kwa county. Pia ni muhimu serikali angalie aidha mambo haya yabaki kwetu ama vile vile yawe yatabaki katika kaunti zetu kuhudumikia watu wetu. Mheshimiwa Spika, Rais amezungumza akasema huduma hii atahakikisha kupatikane pesa ili iweze kulipa madeni. Leo Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nimesimama mbele yako hapa. Deni moja ambalo mimi mjumbe wa Jomvu niko nalo kwa serikali hii ya Kenya ni kwa watu wangu wa Wino Uhuru ambao serikali ilisema walipwe baada ya ile sumu, wakaambiwa walipwe pesa hizi. Katika bunge la 12 tuliyaleta maneno haya Mheshimiwa Spika, ambayo Mheshimiwa Justin Muturi ndiyo aliyekuwa spika, akatuma hoja hii kwa mwanasheria mkuu ambaye ni Attorney General. Mimi Mheshimiwa Spika nakusihi katika bunge la 13 litume tena jambo hili kwa Attorney General ambaye ni yule Justin Muturi ambaye alikuwa hapo, ili ndio itakuwa rahisi kwake yeye kuwalipa watu wangu wa Jomvu, na hapo ataonekana fulangenge kweli ameweza kufanya kazi kwa watu wake. Leo Mheshimiwa Spika, tuna matatizo mengi sana ambayo tuko nayo. Nikiangalia katika hali hiyo ya fidia, watu wengi walifutwa kazi katika KPA, na jambo hili Mheshimiwa Gavana wetu wa Mombasa alipokuwa hapa akiwa mjumbe wa Mvita aliweza kulileta na tukaweza kulisupport. Watu wale tungependa serikali ione kuwa wameweza kuwaregesha kujifanyia kazi katika sehemu ile ili waweze kukimu maisha yao. Na vile vile tumpongeza Mheshimiwa Rais kuona kuwa ameweza kurudisha utendakazi wa bandari katika mji wa Mombasa. Hili ni jambo ambalo tulikuwa tukilitamani kwa muda mrefu, na leo tumpongeza kwa kufanya jambo hilo. Lakini vile vile nataka kusema katika miji yote ambayo inaongozwa na iko na port ndani yake, mfano kama Antwerp, kama Long Beach kule Amerika, kama kule South Africa Durban kwenye municipality inayoitwa Ethekwini, hawa watu hupata pesa kutokamana na hizi port. Kwa hivyo na sisi ni hamu yetu tukiwa watu wa Mombasa kuona kuwa maadamu poti hii iko ndani ya Mombasa, tutaweza vile vile kupata kipato katika poti ile ya Mombasa. Lakini la zaidi, nashukuru Mheshimiwa Rais kwa yale ambayo ameweza kuiangazia, na vile vile kukupongeza na kupongeza watu wa Jomvu kwa kutuchagua na wenzangu wote kwa mara ya 3 kuja hapa. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika, na Mwenyezi Mungu atubariki.
Kimani Ichung'wah.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and let me also have my take on the President's speech, Honorable Speaker. And I'll just begin by first congratulating His Excellency the President, as I also take this opportunity to welcome him again to Parliament. I think those of us who were around this lunchtime, we were glad to welcome His Excellency the President as he joined members of Parliament and senators for lunch. And because, as you witnessed during his speech, he says he promises an administration that will be dedicated to the just and fair governance of all Kenyans. When he visits the precincts of Parliament, he does so not just as a former member of Parliament, but also as the head of state and a friend to this House, and clearly showing his very clear intent to work, as he said during his speech and his address to the nation, in a bipartisan manner for the best interest of the people of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, you will see from his speech, other than appreciating the difficult election that was very close that we just came from, and the beauty of our democracy and how well our democracy is evolving, that for the first time in the last close to 20 years, we've been able to go into an election and emerge from that election without having to lose lives out of post-election or pre-election violence. And Honorable Speaker, Kenyans being able to get back to their places of work and their businesses and continuing with life after voting and having their leaders in place. And we go into elections in our leaders, and we continue to expect that those who lose elections accept the results of those elections and move on with life and help those that have won not only to govern but to act in the best interest of Kenya. And that is why even in his address to this House, His Excellency the President was quite clear that he intends to bring legislative agendas to this House that will require a bipartisan approach, because there is nothing in the plan. And when I talk about the plan, I talk about the manifesto of the Kenya Kwanza coalition. There is nothing that we put in that plan that was there by mistake. There is nothing we put in the plan that was in the interest of anybody within the Kenya Kwanza coalition. But everything in the plan and everything in the manifesto and whatever legislative agenda will come to this House from that manifesto is in the best interest of the people of Kenya. And we are here in the 13th Assembly, Honorable Speaker, as representatives of the people of Kenya. And therefore, I want to ask each and every one of us that whatever legislative agenda that comes here, from the housing agenda that His Excellency the President spoke about here, and if you have listened to His Excellency the President, if you have been watching his actions over the last few days, you can tell that clearly he's very passionate on the housing agenda, he's very passionate, extremely passionate on the universal health coverage agenda, on the social protection and upscaling our savings culture in this country. He spoke very much about that, and more so also on the decriminalization of enterprise and supporting the enterprising young Kenyans and the business community through the Hustler Fund, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I am glad that the President was also very bold. And I remember in his speech, Honorable Speaker, the President was quite dramatic when he said that I have news. Yes, indeed, if I can quote, the President said, I have news. And it is not very good news. Our financial situation is not very good. Honorable Speaker, it is true that this administration has inherited a country whose economy is not working for the interest of Kenyans. We, or the government, the present administration has inherited an economy that was only working for a few people. And the administration has a huge responsibility to make not just the hustler economy, but the economy of the Kenyan people to work for the millions of the Kenyan people rather than work for a few. Honorable Speaker, during the campaign, those of us who campaigned with the Kenya Kwanza coalition, we spoke at length about state capture. And Honorable Speaker, you know, state capture in this country has been so real. And that is what has bedeviled the management of our economy and its affairs. It is state capture that captured our economy, and the economy stopped working for Kenyans and started working for a few people who wielded the instruments of power. Honorable Speaker, it is my prayer, and I am confident that part of the legislative agenda that will be transacted on this floor will be to reverse that state capture of our economy and make our economy work for the millions of Kenyans who voted for each one of us here, and also those who voted for and against the president, because we must act in a manner that we help our people. If not to do anything else, honorable members, to uplift our people from the poverty that millions of our people are living under today. Today, Honorable Speaker, people in close to 14 or 15 of our counties are going without food. There is a drought ravaging our country, Honorable Speaker, and we cannot be able to feed our people if we do not review our budgetary estimates for this year, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I know the President did mention a figure of 300 billion. and it sounded humongous that you could institute budget cuts to the level of 300 billion. But honorable members, I want to convince you and persuade you that it is possible. And you know the padding that is usually done in budgets, especially in the run-up to a general election. Honorable Speaker, you'll be shocked that immediately before, a week before the elections, and a week after the elections, the former regime was still padding the budget and making commitments. By the third week after elections, they had made commitments of close to 300 billion, 200 billion shillings, over and above what had been approved by this House only in June, at the beginning of June of this year. And you wonder, Honorable Speaker, what is this that had to be done outside the budget under Article 223, Treasury, that could not be done and could not be done during the annual estimates only in April, 4 months ago. And Honorable Speaker, if you go through many of the things that they had committed to, Honorable Speaker, are things that emanate from state capture. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, as His Excellency the President calls on us in this House to help him, because we are the budget-making House, to rationalize our budget for this financial year to make it work for Kenyans. We are not going to rationalize the budget to make it work for sections of Kenya. We will rationalize the budget to make it work for the majority and millions of Kenyans across the board. And that is why His Excellency the President, he said, he wants an economy that will work and a government and administration that will serve Kenyans in all constituencies, in all wards, in all counties in the Republic of Kenya. And we have no obligation, Honorable Speaker, other than to support His Excellency the President. Honorable Speaker, I've had members question the President's speech on the talk about corruption. And indeed, the Honorable Fatuma from Migori County said she was disappointed with the President because he did not speak, he did not talk about corruption. I want to tell you, honorable members, President William Ruto does not need to speak about corruption. He needs to act about corruption. And he has started acting. He has ensured that we are resourcing the IG's office. He has given financial independence to our criminal justice system to make sure that we do not just become like the previous regime that talked and spoke about corruption from the first day in office to the last day in office and did nothing about corruption. President...
Your time is up. Member for Westlands.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me a chance also to speak on this speech of the President. First, I would like to thank the people of Westlands for electing me a third time in a row. Mr. Speaker, it was not easy because I had went for the position of the governor. I was out there and then came back, but they still had trust in me. I don't take it for granted. And for the first time, I also won in all the polling stations in Westlands. So that is a no feat. The second, Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate you and the Honorable Gladys Sholay, my chair. He was my chair in my last Parliament, for being elected Speaker and Deputy Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to also speak on this speech of the President. First, the President talked about us amending the standing orders to allow the cabinet secretaries to come to the floor of the House and articulate the government policies and answer questions from members. When the people of Kenya decided to have a new constitution, they wanted to have a pure presidential system. And this, Mr. Speaker, it makes sure that the executive does not belong to this House, Mr. Speaker. So for us, I believe the cabinet secretaries can continue to come and articulate the government policies at the committee stage, but not on the floor of the House. As the Deputy President has coined a word called state capture,
It will amount to the executive capturing Parliament. We would like Parliament to operate without any being twisted by or intimidation by the executive coming to be part of this House, Mr. Speaker. We believe that we can do better. The government can start having cabinet secretaries to come here. This idea was in the BBI, but it was rejected. So I believe it is not yet time for us to allow that because it's not a hybrid. Mr. Speaker, the second thing I want to highlight about the President talking about the CDF. The CDF was the first default fund in this country, Mr. Speaker. And I'm sure even you, when you are a member of Parliament, you experienced the effect of the CDF. CDF has done much work and has reached the farthest corner of this country and the lowest unit of our economy. Mr. Speaker, the impact is out there and it's known. We have seen what CDF has done. Parents have no problem with children go to school because CDF pays school fees. CDF is the one doing development in schools, infrastructure, and many other things. So those who are hell-bent to kill the CDF, Mr. Speaker, I believe with the support of the President and all of us, Mr. Speaker, it will make sure that the CDF remains alive and it will continue to be there so that we can use it to support our people, Mr. Speaker. And the development in schools and security and many other things that the CDF has done. Mr. Speaker, the President also spoke about the affordable housing. This is one of the things that I wanted to do as a governor of Nairobi, because Nairobi City County is the owner of land, most of the land in Nairobi. And we thought of partnering with the private sector to build affordable housing for our people, the replica of Soweto in South Africa, where we have houses that are affordable and decent and with all amenities available to the people. Mr. Speaker, when the government can come in and continue with this program that was started by President Uhuru, I'm very sure we shall do away in Nairobi and make Nairobians become homeowners by creating cheap and credit facilities and affordable providing land, and then the first much cheaper, and people can use mortgages to purchase houses, Mr. Speaker. And with that, Mr. Speaker, we'll have many people owning homes in Nairobi, because at the moment, 80% of the people who stay in Nairobi don't own homes. Homes are owned by just a few people. Mr. Speaker, I want also to say that as a representative of the people of Nairobi, of life that people live in informal settlement in Nairobi, have this kind of having affordable housing, it will bring, Mr. Speaker, decency and dignity to the people who live in those informal settlements. Ownership of
Yes,
houses.
point of order.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I raise on a point of order on standing order number 97. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the interest that members have, you realize that the time allocated for each member is 10 minutes. So in 1 hour, I want to move a motion based on standing the time allowed to each member to at least 6 minutes, so that we can be able to have 10 members speaking in every 1 hour. We'll have 10 members. So in the remaining 4 hours, we can do 40 members. Let me finish. I submit to the Speaker, and then you can contribute to the motion. I move that motion because that motion doesn't require any prior notice, that we reduce the time allocated for each member to 6 minutes. I submit. Thank you.
I think so far we're doing quite well. What I'll do is I encourage members, if you